slaw is the opposite of what you probably think a slaw should be like. Most slaws are completely drenched in mayo dressing. And don't get me wrong, mayo is great, but sometimes you just want something light and refreshing. It's crispy, it's crunchy, it's light, and the peanut sesame dressing that goes on top actually makes it 1,000 times better. And even better, it gets amazing the longer it sits. So let's get started. The slaw starts with what every other slaw probably has, but I like to use a mix of green cabbage as well as purple cabbage so that you get the nice contrast in colors. We're gonna have a couple of carrots in there as well as some scallions and cilantro. I love to add toasted peanuts on there. You can use either the salted variety or just the toasted variety. Of course, if you're allergic to peanuts or you have folks with allergies to peanuts, leave it out. We're gonna start out by first peeling the carrot. And then you can either julienne the carrots, so you can basically use a knife, or you can use a box grater and you can kind of shred the carrots. It's really up to you how you do this. I'm gonna do a mix of this. Actually, I'm gonna shred some and I'm gonna julienne some so you get a little bit of the crunchy bits and some of the soft bits. Be careful with your fingers during these last slices. Okay, so we're just gonna grab all of this. You can just set it aside. I'm gonna put it in a bowl just so it's easier for us to grab it later. I aim for about a cup of carrots. And then your cabbage. We'll aim for about 2 cups each of both the green cabbage and the red cabbage. This one, I just use kind of broad knife strokes to get them chopped, but it's totally up to you. I do like to chop off the edges so that you don't get the really bitter parts in your slaw, because that can turn around pretty quickly. Cabbage in general is very forgiving, so you don't have to try too hard. I like getting some smaller pieces in there as well, just so it makes it easier. For the big red guy. Whoa! With both red cabbage and red onions, I've always wondered why it was not called purple cabbage and purple onions, because, I don't know, that seems pretty purple to me. But hey, not in charge of the rules here. That's about 2 cups, so I'm just gonna save this cabbage and maybe make a roasted cabbage later. And then finally we have cilantro and some scallions. The cilantro, I highly recommend you kind of fold them in on each other. You can remove the stalks if you want, but I grew up in an Indian household. We just eat cilantro in like kilograms at a time. So I will keep all parts of it because I don't love wasting it, but it's totally up to you whether you want it off or not. Chop them into rough bits. You can, if you would like, make them a lot more finer if you want. But it's mostly for the aromatics and to release the oils a little bit so that it's gonna be fragrant in your slaw. And then finally, we have the green onions. So chop off the white bits, but don't throw these away. I have a little hack for you later, so you can just grow your own green onions at home. And then you can chop off the white bits and the green bits separately. I like putting the white bits right into the slaw, but then the green bits I actually save so that I can put it on top of the slaw sometimes so that it gives a nice pop of color. And that's all of the ingredients along with the toasted peanuts that I just have here that I bought in bulk from the grocery store. So when you have the white bits of your scallions, just grab a little glass of water. I am using my husband's espresso glass because I think we have way too many of these at home. You can grab anything that's kind of small and then just dunk them in there and then put them somewhere where there's sunlight. That's it. And then grab a large mixing bowl and just dump all of it in some order. You don't really have to be super precise about this, but one thing I would say is make sure that you are kind of picking the cabbage apart as you're dropping it in there. So that way you're not getting all of this hardy white stuff. I usually remove them as I drop it into the mixing bowl, but it's totally up to you if you want to keep it. And if you are like me, you probably picked a smaller bowl than what you actually needed. So pick the largest bowl that you probably can. And don't throw the peanuts in there just quite yet. We're gonna finish dressing the slaw and then the peanuts go on top at the very end, because otherwise it gets pretty soggy and kind of soaks up the dressing and it doesn't give the crunch that you want it to. Next, we're gonna make the slaw dressing. Ideally, you wanna start with some peanut butter that is 100% peanut, so no additional preservatives or salt, because I think that can impact the flavor of the dressing. We're gonna start with about 1/4 cup of peanut butter. And I got the creamy kind, but it's totally up to you what you want to use, since this is the most important part of the dressing. And then we're gonna add 3 tablespoons of soy sauce. I am using the low sodium variety. Again, I like to control how much salt there is, and this is a good way to do that. You need about 3 tablespoons of that. And then you'll need about 2 tablespoons of toasted sesame oil. So we're using this in lieu of an olive oil or something like that, which is what you usually use in vinaigrette or a dressing. And then finally, a bit of garlic. Measure this with your heart. A teaspoon would probably work. 3 cloves, 4 cloves. Totally up to you. And then we're gonna squeeze about lemon worth of juice in here. A trick here is that you actually want to place the lemon this way so that the squeezy part is on the other side. I've seen people place it along the curvature of the bowl, and that actually doesn't get you as much juice. That's good. And then a bit of salt. You can add maple syrup if you would like for a little bit of sweetness. I do like adding it, but this is optional. The dressing tastes pretty good without it as well, in case you want to avoid artificial sweeteners in your dressing. Let's use a small fork. Want to whisk it? I know it doesn't look like much, but I swear it tastes really good. The peanut butter will just absorb all of it, except for the little garlic bits. And that's really good. Hey. Slaw is ready. That's the dressing, add that on top. Don't need to use all of it. I usually start light and then add on more later.